All right, we are live. Hello, welcome back to the Wiltshire Wellbeing Podcast. My name is Lily, and I am joined this morning by Tim Howe um, from the Longevity Games. I just was already questioning if that sentence makes sense. I'm joined by Tim. Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
Tim is here. Anyway, Tim, welcome. The Longevity
Good
Games.
morning. Thank you for inviting me. A pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm really intrigued by everything that you're doing and what these longevity games are all about. So, before I launch into my list of questions, I would love
Mhm.
you to tell the people who you are. We know your name's Tim, but tell us who you are, tell us what you do, and tell us, crucially, how you're helping people in the community when it comes to
Okay.
well-being.
Thank you. Right. Okay. So my name's Tim. I came up with the idea of the longevity games about 18 months ago. Um, and one of the things that struck to me, I've taken part in lots and lots and lots of fitness events over the years. It's been my passion. It's been my hobby. I've always enjoyed training and fitness. Um, and probably in the last couple of years, I've got into functional fitness. Okay, so quite competitive in a world it is as well. But one of the things that stood out to me was there was not something out there for everybody. So I felt that there was a lot of them were very strict, very intimidating. And then in a world where we want things to be nice and want things to be inclusive. And that's for me is one of the things that I felt that I wanted to bring to the table that nobody else is out there doing at the moment. Um, I turned 52 a couple of years. Well, I'm 52 next month. Okay. And when I turned 50, I went on a family adventure holiday. And I think when you get to a certain age and certain milestones in your life, your expectation of life changes. And when I got went on, I organised it was 18 adults, 17, so 18 children, 17 adults. Sounds carnage, but it was absolutely amazing. All right. But there was people there like my brother and his family, my cousin, his family, lifelong friends, local friends. And I sat down and had a chat to one of my friends who I used to train with years and years ago. And he introduced me to longevity. And we talked about how do we want to live our life long term? Do you want to be a person that relies on medical help later in life and you go a gradual decline, your quality of life gradually declines, or do you want to be as independent as long as possible and then it all happens at the end? And I looked at it and I thought, well, hang on a minute, he's bang on here. What are we doing to give ourselves the best chance later down the line? Am I investing in myself? So when I started looking into it and started doing the research, I thought, hang on a minute here. There's nothing for people to know what to do to give themselves the best chance later in life. So do we run? Do we do weights? Do we do this? There's nothing there giving them the information, but also something they can work towards that's going to invest in themselves. The other side I started looking at is what's the impact to us as a nation and a community. And when I say a community, I mean financially as well. So I started talking to a few of the councillors around in Swindon area and in the Wiltshire area. And one of the things that I found out is in Swindon alone, 85% of the council's budget is spent on social care. Last year, that was 83%. 10 years ago, that was 60%.
Wow.
Right? So these are scary numbers. So it's only going in one direction. So we can even moan about our grass verges not being cut, our bins now being collected every fortnight, and potholes not being filled because though and street lights not being maintained. But when you've only got 15% of your budget, now our social care covers a vast range. It's not just the elderly and the infirm. It covers foster care. It covers all different things, but it's only going in one direction. So I felt, hang on a minute, there's something that needs to be managed, and we are not aging well as a species, and we are devolving, not evolving anymore. Um, and I mean, life expectancy in this country is 81 years old. but health expectancy is 63. So people not even getting to retirement age and they're having underlying health conditions. So which means they're draining and they're having to have medical help or help in the community. So, and that's draining the social care, it's draining the NHS. And I thought, hang on a minute, we've got to do something about this. So that's where the longevity came about. Um, the ethos is you do what you can do. Okay. And I'll go through the games shortly because I think it's important to explain each little bit why we put them in there. Because it's all right getting somebody to go down the gym, but if you understand why you're doing something or why you're doing an exercise, I think you buy into it more. It's a bit like when I used to do triathlon, one of our swimming coaches, he asked for some feedback. And one of the things I said to him, I says, why do you get us to swim down the lane with one arm? And he goes, nobody's ever asked me that before. I said, well, if I know why I'm doing it, I'll buy into it more.
Yeah.
And he goes, it says people just go and do it. I said, yeah, but I want to understand why. I said, and it probably is about technique, but you're teaching me something, and what's it going to teach me? And I'll concentrate more and I'll buy into it more. So it's explaining why those things are important and why we put those elements in. So one thing is about VO2 max. It's also about having leg strength. It's about having core strength. And there's lots of fundamental things why we've put them in, as I've done the research and backed it with scientific backing as well, of what it's going to do for our long-term health as we age. Okay. Um, it's also probably important to explain how, from a generational point of view, of how we've changed as a species as well. And the example I give is my granddad. Okay. He passed away last January at 97 years old. And he was functionally independent probably up until the age of about 94,
Mm.
93, 94. And the only time we found out that he was struggling getting up and down the stairs is I think my uncle caught him shuffling down the stairs on his bum. Yeah, because he was proud. And then we got a stair lift fitted and then he got a wet room done and he had help in the mornings and that kind of thing. But one thing he did do is he played badminton at the age of 75. He swam to the age of 80. He socially interacted. He was out the door. And one of the things he said to me is you only buy enough food in for 3 days. He said, because it gets me out the door. It gets me socially interacting with people. He understood. Now, what he was doing, I don't think he realized what he was doing, but actually, what he was doing is socially interacting, getting out the door, functionally moving, not ordering online, not ordering his food in. He would go down to the supermarket and go and get all these things and carry them back as well, which we've become a nation or a species now that doesn't do those things. Our life is they're trying to get easier, but actually in the long run, it's not making our life easier. So, all these things started to come into place, and I was thinking, hang on a minute here, there's something missing here, something we can do. Um, so like I said, I've always been to my fitness. About 6, 7 years ago, I started training on the field. There's a few of us training on the field, and then somebody said, "Well, can I bring a friend? Can I bring a friend?" 7 years later, I now run a community boot camp in North Swindon that's free of charge. I've never charged for it for a penny, but it's a community. And it runs on a Tuesday, Thursday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, right? Throughout the year. Okay, yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but it's amazing. You come back and you feel amazing. You feel you conquer the world. But what it has done is the ethos around it is it doesn't matter about your ability. So if you can't do a full range squat, if you can't do a full range burpee, we don't care. First of all, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. We're not watching you anyway. And secondly, it doesn't matter. We've all been there and we all support whoever turns up. If you can't run around the park, then you walk around the park. We have a lady who's waiting for a knee replacement and she comes and does what she can do because she knows she's investing in herself for her recovery already ready for her operation in January. So, and also she does it for the social interaction as well. So we brought that ethos into the longevity games. Okay.
I want to pause here
Yeah.
and I just want to acknowledge the incredible thing that you're doing. Because as I'm listening to you, and people listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, there'll be people coming on here that I know well, that people that I've worked with, people that are friends. And then there are people like Tim who I've never met, who we've literally connected because of this podcast. I think
Yeah.
somebody mentioned it to you and then you got in touch
It
or
was a
something.
GP. It was a
It was a
GP, yeah.
GP. I love
Mhm.
that so much.
Yeah.
That in itself
And
is
that'll come back to that in a minute because I'm working with GPs, I'm working with the
oh,
council. This is bigger picture stuff I'm working with, Lily.
why this is brilliant is because but so you're someone that's always been into fitness, right? I am someone that has not always been into fitness. I would still say I'm not into fitness. I would say that I would say the fitness I've maintained has been because I know there's some part of me that gets it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
But the thing you said earlier about understanding why we do something really hit me because I realized as you were talking, because I have several conversations that go on in my head all at all times. And while you were talking, I was thinking, wow, I have mostly done a fitness thing, joined a gym, joined a class, gone swimming, whatever, because I've thought I wasn't good enough in some way. I'm overweight or I'm fat or I'm, you know, for some negative
Mm.
reason. And it's come with a lot of, you should do this. And therefore,
It comes with baggage. That's the problem. It
it's a
comes with baggage.
struggle. Yeah. You don't want to
Yeah.
go because you're like, you're going in with the mindset of, you know,
Mm.
and added to that, when I found myself in, and to be honest, I'm pretty resilient. I mean, I've kept it going. I'm like, keep going anyway.
Yeah.
But I found myself in many times being in communities or environments where everybody was really into it and they were uber fit. And then I was there feeling not as good as them. So
Hmm.
while I'm trying to do something positive, the
Hmm.
narrative that's going underneath is
Yeah. Yeah.
you're not as fit as that person over there. You're older than that person over there. That
Hmm.
person can do a pull up on a bar and you can't.
Yeah.
So the underlying narrative is actually the opposite of what you're aiming for, which is that you're
Yeah.
weak, you're overweight, like
Yeah.
you're not going to be good at this. And as someone who I mean, I have no business being competitive. I have none of the ability to back it up, but I am. So I get in a situation like that and have frequently injured myself because I've been trying to match. Like, I'll
Yeah.
look for the best person in the room, which is usually the person leading it. I'll try and match that. And then I end up with injuries. And I'm at the point now where I've the fitness thing that I do consistently every week is yoga because
Mm.
I understand why it's good for me. I'm not going to yoga because I want to be thin. I don't go to yoga for any reason other than it calms my mind. I genuinely love it. And it
Mm.
sounds to me like what you're creating and your whole idea. I just feel like this is such a powerful download that you've had because you're killing multiple birds with a stone. You're making it inclusive. You're saying to people, come with your knee replacements, come with your dodgy
Mm.
hips, come with your 30 years of having not done anything.
Hmm.
Just start, do something,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter. And I
Yeah.
think
There's no pressure. Yeah.
even though it will, you'd be told that if you went to a gym, you'd be told that if you went to a class, but the lived experience is often not that
No.
because then when you
And
get in,
gyms are intimidating as much as you can
really,
say.
I was in
They
it this
can be
week.
intimidating. They can be scary places. And if you've never
Yep.
been to one before, or you've not been to one for a long time, I don't go to a gym, right? I've got all my stuff at home. I go for a run with friends. I cycle. My gym is outside.
Mm.
Okay. I did go to a gym recently with a friend. He gave me a guest pass. I felt out of place because I just
Really?
felt I was walking around there and I was like, nobody talks to anybody.
Yeah.
Nobody's there having a laugh, communicating. There's nobody. When we do our little boot camp, honestly, the banter, the relationships, everybody's, you turn up and everybody's like, oh, their eyes are all over the place because they're tired. But by the end of it, you hear the relationship, you hear the laughter. And I still pinch myself about what's created there and the lifelong friends and the community it's created. Somebody the other day, their car broke down. I dropped her back, and then somebody else dropped her back to go and pick it up. And we all came together to support her. She's got, like this lady, she's got a knee replacement. She's like, oh, I'm going to be isolated. No, you're not. I said, you've got a community now. I
Yeah.
says, no, I already know. Well, a load of us will create meals for her. We'll go around and take meals. We'll go and we'll go around and watch a film with her. Or, we'll go and do those sort of things because that's what is all about. It's about supporting people wherever you are on your journey.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. And that's what we're trying to do with the longevity games. It doesn't matter where you started from, doesn't matter where you've come from. We're not going to judge where you've come from. You're there. Half the battle is turning up.
Yeah. And that community aspect, like setting aside the physical
Yeah.
element of this, which is obviously very important and it's a huge part of it. That community is an enormous part of it. And the other thing you've said multiple times in some way, shape, or form through this conversation already is it's the self-empowerment bit as well. And this is something that's come up on every conversation so far on this podcast. It's empowering people to do
Mhm.
something for themselves. I
Yeah.
love your mission. I love that you're saying, like, don't let yourself get to the point where you're then reliant on things.
Hmm.
Do the things you can do now.
Yeah.
What would you say to the people listening to this who feel like they've already gone over that line? So they're already struggling in some way. They're already, their health might not be the best, or they might
Mhm.
have, injuries or whatever. What would you say to those people who are probably listening and going, this would have been great, but it's too late for me? What do you want to say to them?
So it's never too late. Okay. So it's never too late. You can invest in yourself at any point, and it can be literally walking down the road. And it might be next time I walk down the road, I'll go a bit further. And then tomorrow I'll go a bit further. But it's like I always it's a bit like doing press ups. How many press ups can you do? I remember my brother years and years ago, and he wanted to be a Marine. And I says, all right, how many press ups can you do? And it was about 13, 14. He goes, oh, I can do 20. I says, right, do 21 tomorrow.
Mhm.
And when I came to see him next time, because I'd moved out of home since then, he was doing 50 press ups. And it's that mindset. We're in a world where we expect everything the answer straight away, and you expect immediate response and you expect immediate results. You have to understand that these things take time.
Mm.
You need to gradually work. You have been there. A lot of people have been there before. You think about when we were kids and running around, and all of a sudden, young adults, and you were still able to run around. At some point, something happens in life where we stop doing things, and it's about bringing those things back in. That's why we've created all the functional exercises that mirror things that we should be able to do as we age, that are also going to put preventative things in there as well. Um, so there's two parts to it. So there's one we briefly spoke before we came on air is about a thing called VO2 max. And I would like to bring that in, and it's probably a good import, probably quite relevant. We bring that in now. So VO2 max has always been associated with high-end athletes, and VO2 max is. Have you heard of VO2 max? May I ask?
I have no idea what it is. I
Right,
was going to
that's
say, like,
good. That's good
what
because
even
I'd rather be honest. Yeah, exactly. So VO2 max is a
sounds like a
measurement.
shampoo.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. It sounds like a shampoo, doesn't it? Yeah, that's a good idea. It's a new brand name, isn't it? Right. So VO2 is the measurement of your ability to take oxygen into your lungs. When you take that oxygen into your lungs, it then spreads through your body into your muscles, and it's your aerobic ability. So it's your aerobic capacity as a human being. Okay. So the higher your VO2, for argument's sake, the higher it is to function as a human being. So, for example, if you've got a really high VO2, you could run up a flight of stairs and you would probably not be out of breath.
Mhm.
Okay, just a short flight of stairs at home, and you could just fly up there and you wouldn't be out of breath. The people who've got the highest VO2s in the world are people like Tour de France cyclists, cross-country skiers. They're freaks of nature. They've got VO2s of like 80, 90. It's just ridiculous. But what happens is when you get to the age of around 40 years old, you start losing 10% of that capacity every decade. Okay, so why does that matter? Well, there is a frailty line that you hit was when your aerobic capacity is that low, is when you can't independently live. That's your what we call either the independence line or the frailty line.
Mhm.
So for a man, that's 18, and for a woman, that's 16, approximately. Okay. So what's happening is as we've aged and we're not being as functionally moving like we used to, so we used to walk to the shops, or we used to go for a run, or we used to play football or interact with the kids a lot more at the park and all those kind of things. Our aerobic capacity nowadays is a lot lower than it ever was before. So when people get to the age of 40 and they find they want to run down the street to keep up with the kids and they're playing on the bike or they want to help, they're struggling with this sort of stuff because they're out of breath and their VO2 isn't as high as it could be and should be. But the impact, and this is where we talk about the social care side of it all, and this is all linked. If you know the frailty line is 18 for a man and 16 for a woman, give you, for example, to tie your shoelaces, you need a VO2 of 12.
Right.
To put your clothes on, you need a VO2 of about 16, 15,
Mm.
16. To walk up a flight of stairs, depending on how quick you do, you need 20. So that's where, if you've not got the VO2 capacity, you can't independently live. And that's where care homes are getting busier, social care, people having to care in the community, family members, all those sort of things are all costing money because what's happening is where that used to happen. And I talk about gave my granddad as an example of that because he was doing all those things and he didn't realize it, what he was doing. What he was doing is he was kicking that can further down the road.
Mm.
But what's happening is that can is getting earlier and earlier, and it's impacting us as a nation and a community. So why is that important? And what we've done is in the longevity games, before you do every functional exercise, you will do either a walk or a run before each functional exercise. So what we're doing there is we're getting people moving, and I say walk or run because if you do novice level, if you can't run, you walk. All right. All we're looking to do is move and get your aerobic capacity moving. So getting you slightly out of breath. And that's all you need to do to start making gains straight away on your VO2. It is literally getting out of breath and it can be a walk. Now, as you get stronger and fitter, then you will probably break into a run. But you can make massive gains on this sort of stuff straight away. And we notice it when people do park run, for argument's sake. You know, it's a massive phenomenon in the UK and it's gone worldwide now. But I've seen it. I used to be a park run director, and you see people that first come along and do park run, walk it. They come back the following week. I'm going to beat that time. I'm going to beat that person who was in front of me. And you see them week after week after week after week. And all of a sudden, they've changed their life. But their
Mm.
aerobic capacity's got better and better and better. So that's why we've got walking and running in the games. But VO2 is so important. Now, people say, well, where can I get all this information from? Now, majority of people nowadays have got smartwatches. And you will find on an Apple Watch, on a Samsung, on a Garmin, there is that figure is on there. It's not perfect, okay, but it will be within 10, 15%. Well, I'll take that all day. And I look at that on my own watch weekly and regularly because I'm investing in myself for my future. Because I look at it, I'm a 52-year-old man with a 14-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter. How old am I going to be when I'm a granddad?
Mm.
Realistically,
Mm.
I'm going to be in my 70s if I'm lucky. All
Mm.
right. So do I want to be a granddad that sits in the corner and does nothing? Or do I want to be a granddad that's involved with my grandchildren?
Yeah. I was going to say that actually. My brain's gone in a thousand directions, but I
No,
was
you
just
please go. It does. It makes you think, doesn't it?
it does. I was thinking multiple things. First of all, kids. So I have kids. They are
Mm,
7, 12, and 14. The 12's about to be a 13. The 7-year-old is very active. She loves being outdoors. She's out, she's on her bike,
mm,
she's on her scooter, she plays with her friends. The boys, they do play football at school, but when they're at home, it's this tendency to just get in,
mm,
telly, gaming, sitting in a chair.
mm,
And where my brain has gone is we get told frequently your children should not have this much screen time. You know, you shouldn't be letting them game for this long, yada, yada, yada. We all know this. And again, it comes with this dose of shame. And it's like, oh, you know, you're a bad parent if you've let your kids do this. But the way you're describing this, the way you're talking about this is it's longevity for everybody,
yeah.
and it's putting those habits in now already that motivates me. I mean, I do try and get my kids out anyway, but I feel even more motivated to do that now because
Mm,
it's like an investment in the future, isn't
yeah.
it? And it's not about having a six pack or ripped abs or
No,
whatever. It's
no,
it's
it's not
about
about that at all.
living well,
No.
living life
Yeah.
to the full.
It's
And
giving yourself a chance, we're all entitled to a quality of life.
yeah,
You talk about an investment there. If you were to talk to an investment financial advisor, they would say put a bit of money away every month. Yeah, because they understand the process of all that accumulating over the years with the interest rate, and you put it all. But we don't do that for ourselves.
And they talk about the compound effect in finance, and
Yeah,
there's a
that's the word I was looking
it's
for. I couldn't think of,
yeah,
yes, the compound effects. And
yeah.
that's the point. I mean, when I sat with my friend when I was in France with him and we talked about the VO2 and stuff, and I found mine and I was like, and I showed him and he was like, that just shows the work you've done over the years. Right. And
Mm,
I'm proud of what I've got. I mean, you can go and find the stats, and I've got, and what I will do is I don't know if you ever put PDF. I've got a PDF that I've done that explains it all this.
we
Okay. It's
can
just one
link to it.
pager.
Yeah,
I'll send you the PDF afterwards. Okay. So
yeah.
you can share it and people can download it. There is a chart on there that shows you your range where you should be based on your age group. And I'm proud of where I've got with mine because
Mm,
I work on it. But I also, when I came to find it, I thought, well, actually, I've invested over the years, so I know it's okay. But I know, and I do the simple maths. If we know the fragility line is 18, okay, I've got a VO2 of 52
mhm,
as of now, okay. So if I know I'm going to lose, let's do simple maths, okay. Let's just take five off every single time, okay. So I know by the age of 60, I'll have a VO2 of 47, right? So I'm slowing down, but I'm way above the independence
mhm,
line, frailty
mhm.
line. So when I get to 70, I'll have VO2 of 42, so I can still function. When I get to 80, so what did I say? 42, it'll be 37, even at 80. So I know even into my 90s, I will be still away from that independence line, that fragility line, because
Yeah.
I've invested in myself. So if people were to find out they're in there, they can do something about it. It's never too late. If for me, the hardest bit for me now is because I've got myself to a decent level, to make those gains is a lot harder.
Right.
Yeah, because I've
Yeah.
got myself to a quite high level.
Yeah.
Um, or if I back off my train, it drops off a tiny little bit, but if I bring my training back again, it comes back up again. So I do understand I can only make small little gains now because at the top end, but the gains you can make at the beginning are huge.
Mm.
And it's motivating. It really is motivating. When I see people and they say to me that I've increased my VO2 by 5 or 6, I guess, how do you feel now? She said, I feel so much better.
Yeah. And that actually then fuels you because I've done things in the past around fitness, nutrition, where I've been reluctant when they've said, you've got to cut out your sugars and you've got to, it all
Mm,
feels a bit, ugh. But the
mm,
minute you recognize, like I remember my vice is drinking cans of Coke. I don't smoke. I very rarely drink, don't do drugs or anything like that. But a can of Coke is like my vice. And obviously, I was on this plan, and so I wasn't having Coke. And I recognized that my breathing was really good. I used to get really short of breath, like really gasping for air. And I started to notice that I wasn't feeling like that anymore. And I felt you just feel better. And that then propels you forward as well because it becomes almost addictive. I have an addictive personality.
Well, you
Like,
find other things you want to do better at anything, and this is the
yeah,
main thing. I was chatting to a live well person in Swindon. I met for a coffee with her yesterday. She came and saw our event at the weekend, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And she says, "I've got to have a chat with you. I've got to meet. I need to understand what you're doing." And we talked about nutrition as well. And I says, "Look, I says I'm not there going to tell people about nutrition. I understand the nutrition and I understand about sugars and glucose and all that kind of stuff. But if I can find somebody who wants to invest in themselves from a fitness point of view, they want to get better, and all of a sudden they start to want to understand about nutrition. Or it might be
yes,
somebody who just goes down the nutrition route first and then goes, actually, now I've got myself in a place where I'm feeling better from a nutritional point of view. I can now start training. I can start.
yes,
So it doesn't matter which way around you do it.
yeah.
It
It has
doesn't
that
matter.
knock-on effect.
Of course it does, because all of a sudden you're seeing results. But then all of a sudden, when you start getting the nutrition involved in it as well, all of a sudden the gains are massive. And I started doing that as well when I came back from France, as I'm now back to the weight I was when I was 24 years old.
Yeah,
So I'm actually able to run better. I'm actually able to move better. But it's not about the weight. I put the right weight on with the right muscle as well. because muscle's important, and I'll come back to that in a minute as well, because that's fundamentally important. What are the things
Yeah.
we've got in the longevity games as well?
Why do you think we're so adverse to doing these things that are good for us? I have my thoughts on it.
Because we're told. I think an element of it is we're told,
Yeah.
but also we don't understand why.
Mm.
As soon as I understand some why and what it's going to do for me, it's about understanding what your trigger is. I mean, I talk about the counsel. I've met with lots of different counselors. I mean, worth explaining. This isn't my day job. Okay, my day job is I sell forklift trucks for a living. Okay, but I'm a salesman. So what I am used to hearing is the word no.
Right.
Okay, so it doesn't bother me the word no. It's not no ever. It's just not. It's no now.
For
Okay.
now, yeah.
So what I have done is I've gradually worked my way around talking to counsellors, talking to GPs, health professionals, and saying to them, this is what's happening. This is what the research is. We've got to do something. So I sat down with one counsellor, met him for a coffee, and I explained one of the things we do in the longevity games is a lie down, stand up. Okay. We get people to physically lie on the floor and stand back up again. Now, if you're doing novice, you'll do it 10 times. If you're doing intermediate, you'll do it 20 times. If you're doing 25 times, if you're doing proficient, you'll do it 50 times. Okay. Now, it sounds easy doing it 10 times, but you do that 10 times.
It doesn't
And he
sound
was like,
easy.
what? Yeah, well, and he said to me, why is it in there? And I explained, I want to be able, what do you visualize doing with your grandchildren when they get older? Play them on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you do it now? And if you can't do it now, how are you going to do it in 15, 20 years' time?
Yeah, and I love this because I think then people's mindset goes, well, I can't do it now, so I'm screwed, you know? And what you're
You
saying
can.
is you're never screwed.
No,
You can be better from where you're at now.
correct.
I love
And
that.
everything you do will make a difference.
What would
Everything
you
you
say? This has just popped into my head as I've been hearing you talk, and I can hear my dad talking. So
do.
it won't come as any surprise from what I said already that we're not a sporty fitness family. We're just not. We are we are blessed to have pretty low weight. You know, we don't carry a lot of weight in our family. We
Mhm.
have good skin. I think we're one of the lucky ones. We haven't had to work. We haven't had that much incentive to go and do these things. So often
Mhm.
when we do them, it's like you say, it's just because we've been told or because it's the done thing and
Yeah.
everyone's doing it. My dad said to me quite recently, he's like, "Oh, I'm glad I didn't take up any kind of sport or anything because everyone I know that's done sport is now nursing injuries, like they're injured." And my dad's in his mid 70s and is really active and he does play on the floor with my kids. So
Yeah, but
he's,
the word you use there is he's active.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Sport doesn't, this isn't about sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a cyclist as well. Okay. So I do cycle, I run, nothing. I meet a lot of ex badminton players, rugby players, footballers that get into cycling because their knees are knackered.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's the impact and they've wore their knees out, that kind of, so they've been
Mm,
told basically they need to do less impact, but
yes.
still keep the aerobic side. So yes, it doesn't, and the fundamental thing you said there about he's active. So you'll probably find, I can guarantee he's out the house every single day.
Yeah.
Does he garden?
Yes. Yeah. Avid
Yeah.
gardener.
So when you start to get these sort of things, these are the people that it's not blessed. What he doesn't realize, he's invested in himself over the years because he's been active.
Right. Yeah. I love
He's
that.
reaping the rewards now because he's been active over the years. He's not just sat there and watched TV and read a book all the time. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, I do it. Yeah. Me, it'll
Well,
be a
it's
podcast.
balance. We
It's
need
balance.
both.
Exactly. Yes. It's
It's
all
good
about
to sit and
balance.
read a book, just not it's too much of anything is going to
Correct.
overload, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have another question that popped in earlier because you've mentioned right off the bat that the longevity games is about inclusivity and
Yeah.
it's about making it accessible to all. So I'm curious, just because I have friends, and one in particular who's registered disabled
Mhm.
really quite poorly. And I know they would listen to something like this and go, it's really nice if you can do it. So, because I think we talk about inclusivity, I actually was reading something recently. I was in part of a chat thread online where the conversation actually was it's hard to be fully inclusive because everything is geared up for someone. Like I say my choir is inclusive because I don't have anything. There's nothing to stop anyone from crossing the threshold.
Mm.
However, if you hate singing, it's not for you. So therefore, is
No.
it really inclusive? So we've got that whole
Yeah.
thing. But
Mm.
that aside, for someone who, like, like my friend who is really quite poorly, wheelchair bound, suffering seizures multiple times a day, really physically and mentally a lot of the
Mm.
time, unable to do a lot of these things. I'm just curious to know, first of all, do you have anyone like that that has come to your games? And if not, what would you say to someone? Because I know in their case, and I'm sure in many other cases, they have the desire, they would love to be able to do something. And
Yeah.
obviously, their something is going to look very different to my something. I'm an able-bodied
Yeah.
person
So
and fit and well. So yeah.
I'm really glad you brought this up. I'll tell you why. In September, we did our first um, inclusive wheelchair level of the longevity games. Okay, so I had a wheelchair coach come to me, and he reached out to me. What's his name? I can't remember. He'll come back to me in a minute. Absolutely amazing, right? So he's a basketball wheelchair coach. Okay, and he says, "Can we look at a way of making it inclusive for wheelchair users?" And I went, "I would love that." Because, and we had a chat with him, me and my core volunteer, Bud, who is an absolute legend. You know, when you meet people in life, he's just one of those amazing people. And he's retired, but he just comes to all my meetings. He helps me with everything that I do. And he's my right hand man. We sat and had a chat with him, and we said to him, well, how do we adapt what we're doing with the longevity games for a wheelchair user? And he says, well, our problems are totally different to yours. I says, well, what do you mean? He says, right, biggest issue we have is drop curbs. Because we won't think about this, okay?
Yeah.
A drop curb, if somebody's parked in front of a drop curb and we're a wheelchair user, right, how do we get up that curb?
Mm.
So we have to learn to be able to get up that curb. So what we did is we created a curb for him. So we got somebody who was a friend of mine who's a carpenter. I got him to create a block. He says, what size do you want it? We got it made, and he was going up and down that curb. I think he did it 20 times or something like that. He went round, back over it again, back over it again, back over it again. The other thing we do is we've got a couple of chairs out for him. So he basically pulled his wheelchair into it, in between the two chairs, got out of his wheelchair, into the other chair, and back again. So he said, what we're
Mm.
trying to do, and this is it, it says, we want to be as independent as possible
Yes.
so we can function on a
Mm.
day-to-day basis. So we can get around and about as much as what you do. So the other thing we did was he had a kettlebell and he picked a kettlebell up, put it on his lap and then put it down the other side. So, it's visualized him picking something off the floor. He
Mm.
did dips as if getting in and out of the wheelchair.
I
And then
love
the
that.
final one we did was like a figure of eight he did. He did so many times. And it was like now we said, well, now we're saying, well, how do we evolve that? How do we grow and create that? So what we'd probably look at doing is at the beginning of the day, we'd do wheelchair users. The other thing we're looking at, and we're talking about the pressure. I've met with a few counsellors recently, and we're looking to create her longevity games as well. Okay, so it's a functional fitness event for women, run by women.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So we're looking at that in May. So what will happen is on the day, I'm just waiting for the dates from the track, is in the morning, we'll set up the day before. In the morning, we'll come everything ready, and then me and all the any males that will literally walk away, and all the ladies are my volunteers, they'll run it. And for the morning, it'll be for ladies only. So those for ladies that are feel intimidated, feel pressure, look, come and give it a go in
Mm.
an environment that you don't have to feel any pressure. Even the
Brilliant.
photographer will be female. The PTs will be female. There's no timekeepers. There's no pressure. You do what you can do, and it'll just be the novice level. So that all of a sudden, it's like we need to evolve to make it as more inclusive as possible. And in the afternoon, we'll run the main event. So
I
that's the
think
plan with that as well.
the needs of women as well, and especially at a
Yeah.
certain age,
Oh yeah, and
change.
menopause, definitely. Yeah.
Yes. I love all of this. I want
Mm,
to give you an opportunity to tell us about the longevity games
mm,
themselves. So you've talked
okay.
about your boot camp and you've
Yeah.
explained brilliantly why we all need to be out moving, and also just to say your answer for the disabled users or the people who are limited capacity, I just think is brilliant because that truly is inclusive because it's still the same ethos. It's what
Mm,
can you do in your capacity. So
yeah.
you're not trying to pick, they're not trying to run a marathon if they can't run, but
Yeah.
you're thinking about what does fit look like for you, because you can be
Yeah.
fit and be in a wheelchair, right?
Gosh.
So
Oh,
what
gosh. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
does
Yeah. You're
fitness
strong as an
look like
ox.
for you?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
think that's brilliant. I can't wait to show this to my friend, and I'm sure
Oh, right.
she'll
Okay,
feedback
so
as well.
let's explain the event itself. Okay, and then I'll break down why we put each of those things in there for you as well. Okay, so there is novice, intermediate, and proficient. Okay, and let's talk about the track first of all. So we normally do it on a running track because the measurement is exactly the same around whatever running track we ever go to. Okay, so if you're doing novice, before each exercise, you'll walk and run around the track once. If you were doing intermediate, you would walk and run around the track twice. And if you were doing proficient, you'd walk and run around the track. Well, if you're doing proficient, I'd expect them to run. Okay. They would run around the track 3 times. Okay. So you're either doing 400 meters, 800 meters, or 1200 meters. Okay. When they come in, they'll first station they'll do will be squats. Okay. So if you're doing novice, it's 25. If you're doing intermediate, it's 50. And if you're doing proficient, it's 100. Okay. There's nobody there counting them. Okay. So there's nobody there saying that you've only done 24. Okay. Because you might lose count. But also, there's nobody saying you're not going deep enough. Okay. So, especially at novice level, the fact you're doing it, you're investing in yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
So, why have we put squats in there? Squats in there, the most important muscle group as you age is your quads. Okay. It's your legs. Okay. What does that do? It gets you out of a chair, it gets you out of a bed, it gets you out the front door. Because if you don't socially interact, you become isolated, which means you're depressed and you go down that vicious circle. So I don't go out because I feel less confident because I've not gone out the door, I've not socially interacted. If you've got strong legs, it will get you out the door. And
Mm.
you know, when you walk out the door, you'll end up socially interacting with somebody somewhere along the line. So that's why we put squats in there and give you that independence to be able to get out of a chair. Okay. So then you go around the track again, but obviously depending on the level you've entered. You come back in again, and the next station is lie down, stand up. So we talked about that one. Okay. So you will either do 10, 25, or 50 if you're doing proficient. Okay. You use your hands, use your arms. It doesn't matter. Some people, and those frustrating people that are very good at yoga, because you mentioned this, they're the people that can get up without even putting their hands on the floor. I have to use a bit of momentum, but I can do it.
I've not
But I
mastered
haven't got
that
the
yet.
flexibility to do that. Some people have got the flexibility. There's a couple of ladies that come to my boot camp, and one of them, she does yoga all the time. She's a Thai lady, and she just makes it look effortless.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
And you get the kids to do it, and the kids do it without using their arms. It's fascinating.
Yes.
Your kids, you've got 3 kids, and I
Yes.
guarantee the 7-year-old will do it without even thinking
Oh,
about it.
I've seen her do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fascinating because we stopped doing this sort of stuff,
Mm.
you know? So what we're trying to do is put a little bit, really, of stuff we used to do as kids. So
Yeah.
it's playing on the floor. Simple, simple exercises. So we've got a load of mats. We have like big gymnastic mats and stuff like that. So we bring those out. So what's that doing? Obviously, it's a whole body exercise, but it's also teaching you to get up from the floor as well. Because as we age, fall's a major issue we have in this country. So have you got the ability to get up from the floor? And also we're mimicking playing with the kids as we become grandparents. Yeah. The next one is the hand walkout. So again, we go around the track, how many times you're going to do. Next one's the hand walkout, or some people call it an inchworm, where you're literally on your toes. You can do it on your knees as well. And you reach out on the floor, hand walkout, and then hand walk and then stand back up again. And that's 10, 25, or 50 times. What we're doing there is you're increasing your core strength, so your balance, your shoulder and arms. Okay. And the reason we want to increase your shoulder and arm strength, one of the biggest killers over the age of 60 is people when they fall and break their hip.
Mm.
Right. So have you got the arm strength to put your arms out quick enough to stop yourself falling?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're putting the arm strength bit in there as well, and the core stability. And I'll come back on to the next one, which will marry up with what we're just talking about. So the next station is the lunge walk. Okay, so again, you go around the track. We want lunge walk to the depth you're able to do a lunge walk. Okay, so if you can't get your knee to the floor, it doesn't matter. So you do 25, you'll do 50, or you'll do 100 meters. And you'll be running, your legs will be like jelly afterwards. Okay. It is, it reminds me of doing triathlons when I used to get off the bike and I'm like, oh, the first half of a mile, my legs were all over the place. But why have we put that in there? And we talked about falls. You should be able to take your own body weight on one leg. But if you haven't got the leg strength and the leg speed to get your leg out to stop yourself falling over with your arm and your leg, you will fall over. And over the age of 60, it's been proven that people, if at the age of 60, if they fall over and break the hip, 30% of those people will die within the first 12 months.
Mm.
50% of them will go back a level of mobility. So if they were walking with a stick, they'll walk with a frame. If they were with a frame, they'll go into a wheelchair. And
Mm.
normally it's only about 25-30% who go back to where they were before. So what we're doing is we're putting preventative measures and giving you that ability to stop yourself. Now, look, I'm not going to stop everybody falling over. If a dog runs out and you know, or the lead there, you know, we're not going to stop people falling over. But what we are doing is giving you the skills and possibly the ability to stop that.
Yes.
Okay. And then the final one, the one that everybody loves to hate, okay, it's the burpee jump or the burpee step.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, I know. I know. But
I already
why?
thought I'd be at the bottom
Yeah.
level. Now I know that's where I'd have to
Right.
start.
Now, you can adapt a burpee first of all. Okay. So you can do a burpee where you literally put your hands to the floor, take a step back, take a step forward, then take a step forward. Or you go to the top level where you literally throw yourself on the floor. Now, two parts to it. One main reason is it's explosive. Right? Because what happens when we age is we slow down.
Mm.
And if you're going to fall, you need to be quick to stop yourself falling over. If you've put some explosive stuff in your workout, you don't slow down as much.
Mm.
So it's having that explosive side in there for you. Um, and then one of the other thing is a burpee teaches you how to get to the floor safely. So if you burpee enough and regularly enough, if you're feeling faint, you have the ability to get to the floor safely because your muscle memory and your memory will know how to get to the floor safely and do it.
Mm.
So there's a method to the madness and all this kind of stuff. And literally, when you've crossed the line, that's it. That's the finish line.
That's
So we have
brilliant.
so that weekend we had 155 people. So in the winter we do it indoors. So we go to a tennis centre in West Swindon. It's got four tennis courts. We literally take it all out and we put all our kit in there. We had 155 people. Of those 155 people, 14 of them were borough councillors and parish councillors. Six of them were GPs. And
Love
we
it.
had 30 people from, and I'm going to shout about him from Fruity Fit, who are based in Marlborough, Devizes, and I think Chippenham as well. He specialised in ladies 40 plus, and he had 30 ladies there, and half of them have already signed up ready for February. They just love the inclusivity of it all. So there's no time in chips. So there's no pressure. It takes as long as it takes you. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. And one of the things I do say to all my volunteers is we don't take any kit down, even if all that station's all been done. Nothing comes down to the last person cross the line. There's nothing more demoralizing.
Yeah.
I've seen marathons, half marathons, when the last people are coming in and all the volunteers there are taking all the fencing down, all that kind of stuff, and you're the last.
Mm.
No, that's not how this is ever going to be. And the people at the end, they get the biggest cheer.
Yes.
And it works.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie, there was people that did novice level who stuck around all morning to cheer everybody on. You
Yeah.
know, it just, I have to take somebody says to me every time, he says, remember to take a moment to take it all in, Tim, because when your wedding day, you're told you're going to miss half of it. That's what it feels like because you're so involved in
Just
it.
a
So every now and
blur.
again, I just take a step back. And it was my wife came out and she works in the registration and does the shop and stuff with us. And she walked out. We both took a moment and say, wow, just seeing people cross the line, seeing people cuddle each other, there's a few little stories of people's journeys that has just been life changing. One particular lady, Susie, she did my first event in September last year. I know her personally. If you would see us on our social media, she's actually right at the top of our Instagram page. Um, and when she crossed the line in September last year, she crossed the line. I gave her a big hug and I whispered in her ear, as this is the start of your journey. So that was novice. She had a
Yeah.
vision this year of doing novice this year, and then next year moving up to intermediate.
Yeah.
Sunday she did proficient.
Wow. I love it.
Her mindset is because she knows it doesn't matter how long it takes her.
And did you say last September was the first one of these?
So that was my first official one, yeah. So
You've
last
grown to a
September I
hundred
did
and
so I did one. I've done five this year.
wow. Oh my goodness. And the
Yeah.
next
We'll
one's
do we'll
when?
do four we'll do four next year. What suit and this is suit and I'm learning from everybody that does it. I'm not saying I know everything because I'm evolving with this, and I have to be like that because I don't know everything. But what I am trying to do is learn from what people want as best I can.
Mm.
And one of the things that Susie said to me, she uses it as a quarterly fitness check. She use it as a little check-in. Am I keeping to the standard of where I need to be for my long-term health? And she said, it's not my little check-in every quarter.
Yeah,
So what I
brilliant.
have got is I've got runners now coming in because what's happening is runners have always ran, but they are, and we talk about the VO2, they've got amazing VO2, but they've got no strength, and
Mm.
we lose muscle mass as we age. So, and by putting functional training, they're finding they're actually better at running up hills now. They are stronger, they get less injuries. And we talked about those injuries. If you put strength work in there and the aerobic side, you're putting both of those in, you're giving yourself the best chance in life.
What's your age range? Is there a limit, minimum,
So
maximum?
16 years upwards, 16
16
years.
up.
I have been asked for younger. The only limitation I've got at the moment is public liability at the moment.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other side of it is when people enter, we have three photographers that come down at the moment. The photographs are included. What I am also, and I'll come back to that, I'm trying to make it as a package where you get a lot for your money as well. Um, when you've got photographers there, it opens another can of worms if you've got children under 16.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Oh,
so
it's a whole other ball game, isn't it?
yeah, and at the moment I haven't got the capacity to do it. Okay, so
Be
it is,
honest as well, the kids get a lot. They get this in school. They get this through their own play.
yeah.
I just think it's brilliant and I could talk
Well,
to you about this all day.
oh, I know. I'm conscious of time as well. So but it's for me, it's like if the kids see you doing it, they do it. And one of the
They
things
do.
I just want to say, one of the things I noticed on Sunday, there was a lady and she was doing the burpees. And what I noticed, I don't think anybody else saw it, I did, is at the side, her kids were watching, and every time she did a burpee, they did a burpee.
Yeah, that is exactly how it is.
So this is what we're talking about. And when I talk
Yeah.
to the council, a lot of the things that they talk about is getting kids active, kids active. I go, whoa, 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 hang on a second. If the adults are active, the kids will follow.
Yes. Yeah,
So
that's
are we
very
looking at
true.
the right way? It doesn't mean it's wrong what they're doing with a lot about kids, which is great. Kids so many minutes and so many hours they should be doing at school. But if the adults are doing it, it becomes a norm in your household.
Yes. Yeah, habits get built.
Of course they do.
I would love to talk to you about this for hours more, but I
Mhm.
need to wrap it up. It's
No,
been
that's fine.
incredible. I think what you're doing is amazing. And I don't know if anyone has highlighted this to you, but plenty of people get ideas like this. Very few people actually go and do it. So I think you're incredible for doing it. And I'm just going to say thank you on behalf of everyone that this is going to help. What's the best way for somebody to reach out if they want to find out more, if they want to maybe do the games, if they want
Yeah,
information? We'll obviously link it below, but what's the best way
yeah.
for them to connect with
So
you?
we've got the website, it's evolving. Okay. It is literally me and my wife on a shoestring at the moment. So I've got a friend who's very, very IT literate and he's helping us with that. Um, we are on Facebook and Instagram a lot. If you want to get some ideas, and if anybody wants to reach out on our Facebook page and on the website, my number's on there as well. I'm an open book. Okay. I'm very much about bigger picture. That's why I'm doing a lot of work with the council. That's why I'm doing a lot of work with the NHS. And it astounds me every time when I talk about the VO2 and the independence line, and even PTs don't know about this stuff,
Mm.
and it's scary.
I've never heard of it. And I've done a
Yeah,
lot of stuff with PTs and like throughout.
yeah.
I've never
And when you say
basically
that to
what it
them,
was.
it blows their mind. And I did a presentation a month ago with Anna, who put me in contact with yourself, and she invited me along to a metabolic clinic. And it was a morning with 96 GPs, mixture of GPs and trainee GPs. And we spent a whole morning. It felt like educating them
Yeah.
because they don't get taught this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like when I went through the independence line, you could see them all going, whoa, this is mind blowing.
Yeah.
And when we talk about there's a report being done by the government at the moment about why social care costs going up and up and up and up, and it's going to cost them millions and millions and millions. I feel like saying to Keir Starmer, just give me a call.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you about this initially, and if we can get people doing that, your social care will cut. Even if we drop it down by 4 or 5%, you're going to make a massive impact.
Yeah.
It's these small little gains that we can do that are going to, but if people understand why, that's the,
Yes. Yeah. I think it's incredible. I'm so honored that you came on to share, and I hope that everyone listens to this episode, and I hope that plenty of people get involved in the longevity games as well. I'm tempted to bring my Evo army. Do you want a choir of people? We would sing as we did it. We can lunge and
wow.
sing. It's been done.
Well, one thing I'm all about is putting people in waves. If you guys came along and you all want to be together, I'll put you all in the same wave. I
I
do
think it
that
would
as
be
well.
brilliant. I'm going to sign
Yeah.
them up. We've got rehearsal tonight. I'm going to tell them I'm signing them up. They'll all be like, what are we doing? But yeah,
Oh,
they're
scare the
used
life
to
out
it.
of them.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on here. And like I said, we'll link below your episode to your Instagram and to the website that people can contact you if they want more
Thank you.
information. And yeah, I hope we stay in touch. I think you're amazing. So sending you lots of
Thank
love
you.
and
Really
luck with
appreciate
all
your
of it.
time. Thank you.
Thank you. Take
All
care,
the
Tim.
best. Take
Thank
care.
you.